Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. It's lovely to be doing this new channel for you,
Oh, thank
and
you.
yeah, and excited to be making it. Yeah, this is actually for the people.
So, how have you been keeping with the lockdown?
Oh, well, it's I have to say it has been a bit of a challenge at the moment. I think even being a psychic individual, not many people predicted this. And I think the reason is because this was something humanity has never really gone through before. It's a massive ascension. I was told by whatever you want to call it, spirit, some people call it source, and some people call it the superconscious. And I was told about 2 years ago to get ready. And they said, physically get yourself ready and mentally and emotionally. And I said, what does it mean by that? And they said, well, I'll give you an example. Build a gym in your home. And I thought, okay, then, yeah, I will. And they said, get yourself, run every day, get yourself physically fit, get yourself ready. And they were giving me ideas as well about people. All I knew was they were talking about people like Oprah Winfrey and famous people, stuff like that. And how do you think they got where they got? And I thought, well, hard work, obviously. And I kept seeing this finger going, no. And I thought, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there was something brewing, something that was about to break open. For example, that there was stuff going on with money exchanging hands and power and greed. And I was beginning to get messages through like that. But every day they said, get on the treadmill and work. And indeed, my life started changing dramatically probably about 30 years ago. And I remember being in a bookstore, and one of the first books, it wasn't even about being psychic at the time, it was about Diet for a New America, it was called. And what this author was saying, he was talking about becoming vegan. And I remember thinking, there's no way, that's going a bit too far. And then the book really educated me, talking about what happens when you eat these heavy meat products and these dairy products, not only the suffering to the animals, but your body is a physical antenna, and you're actually pulling in this psychic energy and the psychic information. And what they were saying is the lighter your body is, not having these heavy meats and heavy animal products, the clearer the reception, the clearer the messages are going to be. And I remember thinking almost overnight, okay, I'm going to be vegan. And that was what actually started changing me on the road to becoming more and more physically psychic, with because your body is this physical antenna. And I remember being around 12 or 13 years old. We didn't have a library where I came from at home. It was a very small town. And I remember being told, just go and get a book, entertain yourself. No mobile phones being around then. And the book I chose, but it was like it wasn't me choosing it, the same as with the Diet for a New America book. It was like the book chose me. And the book was called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I remember thinking that book really started changing my life, because it starts, talking about, was the beginning, one of these books talking about service to others, as opposed to always service to self. And I think because of that, that's how I started networking with people and realizing that I am really a people's person, and I wanted to really show service to others as opposed to service to self. So that's really how I physically got to where I am now, I guess.
So what makes a great psychic connection? I mean, how do you then go about delivering the service? How do you get the psychic connection?
Well, what I do, I was actually, I kept seeing these videos, YouTube videos by this lady called Dolores Cannon. And I remember thinking, I don't really know about this. I don't really know who this lady is, what she's talking about. And I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. And the first time I sat down and really listened to this lady, Dolores Cannon, talk, I said, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do, because she taught quantum healing hypnotherapy. And when I saw what a difference somebody like that can make with that technique, with healing, with really getting people under in a very, very quick time. And with the hypnosis, it's not just sitting in a chair giving people commands like, you will not smoke and you will not drink and you will not eat these foods again. That's the old way of hypnotherapy. And I noticed that this is an extremely deep form of hypnosis. And I remember thinking, I heard two things she said. She said, if you want to have a career for the future, go that way. And it's in alternative medicine, alternative therapies. And I thought, she's absolutely right. And it goes to show what's going on even with the lockdown at the moment, because people are beginning to wake up and they're beginning to change. They're no longer thinking about pharmaceuticals and medicine. People realize that that just doesn't work anymore. And what we want to do, especially me, I want to re-educate people about how important your food is, your diet is, what you drink, but especially what you're thinking as well. And also that creates that space for all the psychic downloads. Some people call it channeling. I call it downloading. I could be downloading from what we call the superconscious. Some people even call it source. And some people even say there's ETs in other galaxies. And I know I've been contacted by the Pleiadians, Arcturians, etc., and constantly being given this. It's like there's almost a constant queue to talk to me and give me downloads. They are very concerned about humanity at the moment, but they've told me to tell everybody that we're all doing a really, really great job. So what I do the night before a client comes for hypnosis, or if they want a reading, I ask them to give me about 2 days, and I just sit, I meditate on the person's name. All I need is the first and last name. And if I have a phone number, you know, source talks in numbers as well. That works very, very well. I can get all the information I need. And what starts happening is I suddenly open my eyes, and the pen starts writing, and I start writing all the information down about that person. Now, that might be whatever is relative to that person's life, relevant to the person's life at the moment. For example, they might have had something very, very important that happened to them in their childhood, some sort of landmark thing. They might have had trauma in their childhood, but whatever it is that I need to know, that will come up in the reading. And also, people don't realize that they either do believe in past lives or they don't, but this comes up. And what will come up is gifts that you've actually brought forward from past lives, and that will actually come up. It will be relevant, very relevant in your life right now, and that will actually come through as well. So whether you've been a warrior in many, many past lives, whether you've been in the military and you've fought, and you will be born, and you will be, these clients I've had will be thinking, I'm so against war, I'm really here for peace, but they're so traumatized. And what we do is we realize, me connecting with them, I see their past lives, and they know as well, whether they believed in it or not, they know what they've done in past lives, because they can feel it. It comes through in this life. And the other thing is, there is no such thing as time. And human beings talk about the past and the present and the future like it's a linear thing. There is no such thing as time. And that's why these things are coming through at the moment. Even if somebody has an injury on the left-hand side of their body, that might very, very well be a past life injury that we can actually heal through hypnosis. And that will be gone. That will never come back again. But what we do is we need to actually understand how the injury occurred. in a past life trauma. And usually if they have any sort of injuries on the left hand side of the body, there's no explanation. They can't give an explanation 9 out of 10 times for how the injury actually occurred, because usually it wasn't in this life anyway. When it was in this life, it's usually on the right hand side of the body, and we just get rid of it through hypnosis. As I said, it never bothers them again.
So to get that information and to connect, you obviously using your six senses. So how does it feel to use your six senses for this?
I think that's just the way I was born. I think we're all born and we all have a different perception of life. So my perception of life and what's going on will be completely different to yours, will be completely different to him and to hers. I think I've always seen auras. I just thought everybody did. So I've always seen colors and auras. I would always usually know with my gut feeling as well who to approach and who to go, whoa, they're just very negative. But I found as the years went by, I noticed it more and it got stronger. And the more you tune in and trust yourself, trust your gut feeling and trust what you're being told, and it's usually right. And every time you ignore your gut feeling and you don't trust yourself, you usually regret it afterwards. So for me, I think I always felt different as a child, and I always thought, I wish I could fit in. I wish I could be like them. I wish I didn't see these things. And so I almost saw it as, why am I like this? Why can't I just be like everybody else? And I knew I wasn't, but I didn't know what was different. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then as I started to really integrate with my sixth sense, I remember thinking I wouldn't change this for love nor money. And if I've ever done something to help somebody and I've heard source or spirit speak to me and say, what would you like as a reward? At first I've said, oh, maybe money. And then I've said, no, don't give me money. I don't want anything financially. I want gifts. I want abilities and gifts, because you can't actually buy them. You have to actually, you have to actually work for it. It's like being psychic is like a muscle, and you have to actually work that muscle every single day. And believe you me, it is good fun and it is worth it as well. You can just almost see things coming from behind you. You can see most things. As a psychic, you can't see everything that's going to happen, because if you could, I wouldn't have any experiences or learning curves. I wouldn't be learning or getting any better if I could see absolutely everything. And even, for example, the lottery numbers. A lot of people have said, can you tell the lottery numbers? I've tried before, it just doesn't work, because to them, to spirit or to source, money's it's just nothing. It only gets you so far, pays the bills, buys you a few things, but it's just not really that important to them.
So in your opinion, is everyone being psychic, or is it a very special, unique gift?
In my opinion, everybody is born sixth sensory. I think we were robbed. I think what happened is we were told inadvertently, unwittingly, by your parents, your siblings, your family, your teachers, and everybody, stop daydreaming, stop looking out that window. And what we were doing, daydreaming and looking out the window as children, was actually tuning in. We were tuning into spirit all the time. We were listening and tuning in, and you're told, snap out of it, wake up, don't do that anymore, go around, be busy, do things. And actually what the Buddhists say is, they say, sit there and do nothing. And you'll get more out of yourself that way, sitting there and doing nothing. Just sometimes sitting, closing your eyes and actually tuning in and meditating, you're going to get a lot further like that, just sitting still for a while and actually listening. And what I normally say to people is, meditation has got a very, very bad sort of stereotype, that you sit in the lotus position and you sit with your fingers like this and cross your legs. Well, I can't do that. And the majority of people, they just can't. So what I say to people is, sit in a chair, just close your eyes and just listen to the stillness. And if you hear spirit talking or something going on, then just listen. You can ask questions and they will reply to you straight away. But it does take practice. I think everybody has been born like this, but like me, you need to practice all the time. The number one thing I would say to people is believe. you have to have that belief. And when you believe, you'll see what happens. Miracles will happen.
Wow. Wow. So, so you are obviously psychic, and you also are, you mentioned it earlier, a quantum hypnotherapist. Is that right?
Yes.
So, is it a completely separate thing, or would you like to explain it to us?
I find it all goes together hand in hand. What I normally do with clients is I'll give them an option, and I'll normally say to them, you know, if you want a psychic reading only, I can do that for you for whatever, an hour or 45 minutes. Or I can actually spend about 5 hours with them if they want to go through trauma and healing, etc. And that's where I do the quantum healing hypnotherapy as well. So I give the client an option really of what they want. But I feel when I do the hypnotherapy with them, when they go into past life regression, a lot of them are completely gone. They don't remember a thing, and I find I can actually see what they can see as well. It's almost like a hologram that they project, and I can actually see the past lives that they're actually experiencing as well. So I think definitely it's all part of the same, it's all under the same umbrella, if you like, I would say. Yeah.
Getting over your subconscious. So would you say that if you want to actually reprogram yourself a bit more rather than listening
Yeah.
to the thing?
Yeah. I mean, what we do is I would actually sit with the client for, we don't charge by the hour. So what I would do is I would sit with the client for at least, it could be 3 or 4 hours. We get to know each other, and we obviously, we need to build up trust as well, because otherwise they're not going to go very deep into the hypnosis for you. So what we do is we chat. And also, if you don't get to know each other and chat, it's very difficult for me to know what questions to ask after the past life regression, because what we do is we actually call forth the superconscious.
So we've got now the difference, obviously, between the readings and the hypnotherapy. So the hypnotherapy is a little bit more getting over your subconscious.
We ask to speak to the superconscious, and what actually happens is the superconscious comes through. It's the part of you, the most intelligent part of yourself that you're connected with. And we actually ask the client to bring 5 questions or 10 questions, as many as they like, about their life, their situation. And we also ask to bring about 5 or 10 questions about their health as well. I asked the client to bring at least 10 questions about their life and their situation, which when we connect to the superconscious, all those answers will come through for them. And what we do is we try and get the ego or the conscious mind to sort of get out of the way, so we can actually bring in the superconscious. And we ask them to also give us a list of 5 or 10 questions about their health as well. And what we do is we don't actually, it's not like Reiki or anything where there's hands-on, nothing like that, or massage. We don't touch the client at all. We sit very close by, and we ask the superconscious, or the subconscious, as Dolores Cannon called it, we ask the subconscious to come in, and they actually do the healing on the body. We ask them first to do a full body scan on the body. So they will actually go inside and check from the head all the way down to the toes. They check the internal organs and everything. But this is all done through the client talking, through the client's voice. And they actually, the superconscious talks through it. And I have to say, in the very beginning, it was just miraculous to watch, because I had a police officer who was in a head-on collision and had broken his neck. in the line of duty. And the surgeons said he will never walk properly again. His hands were also, it was affecting his hands, and he had become, when he left the force, he couldn't use his hands properly, so they were beginning to stiffen up and the fingers were beginning to curl up. And also his right knee as well. He said he was going to have a knee replacement operation. And I remember him saying to me, "Don't worry about the knee, you won't be able to do that." And I remember thinking, don't limit the subconscious to what they can do, because their power is, we don't even know the power of the subconscious. We just don't know. But I have actually seen and witnessed some miracles. I've seen this gentleman's body being put back together, all the nerves from the brain all the way down. And I always say to people, forget about what the doctor has said, forget about what the surgeon has said, wait until the subconscious comes through, they will tell you. And they said it was nothing to do with the broken neck. They actually explained, and although this gentleman was not a brain surgeon, he said, no, it's the neurons or the synapses or the messages from the brain. They're actually not working properly. And that's why they started healing everything, all the nerves, all the way from the brain, all the way down the spine and all the way down to his hands. And he started shaking so much that I thought he was going to fall off the bed at some point. But what it was the subconscious coming through and putting his whole body back together again. And then I asked if they could work on his knee, and they said, yeah, absolutely. And to this day, he's never needed that knee replacement surgery. It was all fixed like that. And he was on extremely high dosages of painkillers for years. And when he was under, the subconscious came through and they said, oh, he's going to die. Give him about 6 months, because he was taking so many painkillers that it was going to actually switch off his organs. His organs were going to actually go into organ failure at some point. And so the best thing for him is he can play with his son. His son is about 5. He can play football. He can move the neck up and down, side to side. The knee is fantastic. He's back playing football again with his son, and he's not on any painkillers at all. So it is an absolute miracle. Yeah. And this is something that his doctor, surgeons, and everybody said that he will never walk like that again, like he used to. And he's playing football. So what Dolores Cannon actually coined, what she actually found, is a miracle, and more people need to know about this.
Very good, very good. So what are the most sort of influential people that you've actually worked with, or who you found sort of influencing your life or your career?
Definitely, like I said earlier, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Wonderful book. I would recommend that. John Robbins, who wrote Diet for a New America, was really an eye-opener 30 years ago, started me on this path, definitely. I also trained with an author, New York Times best-selling author called Sonia Choquette. I trained with her in London about 10 years ago. She's amazing. But definitely, without a doubt, the wonderful Dolores Cannon, probably my best teacher ever. And indeed, even though unfortunately she did pass away a few years ago, she comes through all the time in my hypnosis sessions. I can feel her sitting beside me. I normally feel a poke in the back when she says, hurry up, get to the end of the session. You can't keep somebody under for longer than 2 hours anyway. It's not safe. And so normally I get a poke in the back and I know it's Dolores coming through. After the sessions, when I've done hypnosis, even with other clients, she's come through and said, that was well done. That was a really good session, and pat yourself on the back. You did really, really well. So she will always come through with all of the clients. She will always come through and say something. Dolores is always around. She never left, which is fantastic to know. And yeah, that's probably it at the moment, really.
So just going back to your main work for this website, the SarahMedium.com website. So how do your readings actually work? So we've just had this really great, fantastic example of hypnotherapy, where someone comes in and gets a really deep, miraculous healing whilst he's hypnotized and comes out of it life changed. So how do the readings work?
Well, what I prefer to do, I have actually done readings before where we've gone to sort of like, you know, little rooms of restaurants or pubs or stuff, and we've sort of sat there opposite somebody, and I found it sort of uh, you know, it's a bit more pressurized because you sort of think what's going to come up, and you're sort of both sitting there looking at each other. And I found in the very beginning of doing readings, and this is going back, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, it just didn't really work out for me that well. So what I ask people to do before I do readings is give me at least 2 or 3 days, and over those 2 or 3 days I can spend an hour here and an hour there. And what normally happens, it depends how long they want. I'll write out at least 10 pages about their life, their childhood, the energy, and especially how their body's looking at the moment, tuning into their body, and where they should be going right now, and their relationships and stuff. That's all really important. But I prefer to, what I do is I sit at home in my office, peace and quiet, and I just tune in. And I find it much easier because there just is no pressure, and whatever comes, comes. And then I have them live on Zoom, and spirit will always come in. Spirit will always come in. Occasionally I will have a relative come in, like a grandparent or parent, you know, or even I can even see pets sometime coming in, and they will come in live and say, tell her this, tell her that, or tell him this, tell her that. And that can happen as well. But I like to have all my information written out in the beginning, so we can have a lot of things to work through. And yeah, it does. A lot of information comes through. I normally do about an hour per client, but usually I have at least 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Sometimes the sessions run over a little bit, so I don't mind.
Mm. Wow. Um, yeah. So, do you have any sort of example of a story, just of reading this as a final sort of gift for us?
I did a radio show, Circle of White Light, an internet radio show, and I had a young gentleman contact me, um, and I immediately thought, I don't know what it is, and I got his name, and I wrote down his name, and a lot of information came through about him. And I remember seeing him, and he told me he had a shaved head. He told me he was from somewhere in Scotland, and I remember thinking, oh, I don't want to say it, I don't want to say it. But they told me to say to him, remember the time when you were 7 years old, and you were somewhere that you weren't supposed to be, and you jumped over a gate. And what happened was he had ripped his jeans in the crotch area. And I remember thinking, oh, please do. And they kept saying, just say it to him. He'll understand. He'll understand. So what it is, I will get messages about people, and I will normally say, I don't understand. And they say, but it isn't for you. It's for him or her. They'll understand it. Just say it. So I often get random things to say. And I was taught by Sonia Choquette in my training, even if it's pink elephant, purple spots, whatever comes up, just say it. So I will say everything I hear. And this gentleman, the Scottish gentleman, he was cracking up laughing. He said, yeah, I was 7. I was wearing the brown shirt, and I was wearing the blue jeans. And I did rip the crotch of my jeans, and I got into a lot of trouble. And I remember saying to somebody, I can't see through your clothes to see what jewelry you're wearing. But I said to him, apparently you have a special necklace that you wear as well. I described the necklace. And even though it wasn't being shown, I couldn't see it, but I could actually see through his clothing, and I could see the type of necklace that he had been wearing as well. So that was quite a funny thing as well, to be told, apparently you have this particular necklace, and you should always keep it on. You should always wear it. So that was interesting. I remember a few weeks ago being told to say to a client, why the frowning face? And she said that in her job, they'd all done a Zoom call and they'd all been told to give each other feedback. And it was embarrassing. She was told by everybody to stop frowning. She had a frowning face. So that came up in the reading as well. Why the frowning face? And I thought, oh no, sometimes I don't want to say things to people, but I will just say it anyway, because Spirit always says, she or he will understand. It won't make any sense to you, but they'll know exactly what we're talking about. And another lady, she said her son was quite young and he would get upset whilst driving in the car, or even sick. So she said she would turn on one of his favorite songs and she would do this sort of Vogue dance. And I did the dance for her and she said, really? So spirits can, or whoever it is, can see me dancing in the car? And I said, yeah, that they can see you, and this is the dance you're doing. It's Vogue. So she was quite shocked that spirit can see little things like that, and they will join in and laugh along with you. They will join in the fun and everything as well. So she was quite shocked that they could see that, and they told me to give her that message that they love her dance in the car.
So that's wonderful. So your clients really they sort of get peace, isn't it? They get the feeling of direction. They are more, so after reading people, how do people feel? How do they see the main value of getting the reading?
They know when I tell them these things that I couldn't have got it from anywhere or anybody. These are very, very, sometimes they're embarrassing stories, they're funny stories, but they're stories that nobody could ever know. They would never tell anybody. And so it isn't how wonderful I am as the spiritual medium. It's not about that at all. It's giving them the proof. They know that there is something there. They know that, because how could I know? How could I be? And I keep saying, oh, sorry, but I don't know what this means, but apparently they're telling me to do this dance for you. And they laugh. They really, really laugh. And they also say to me, that's changed my life forever, because I know they're with me 24/7. And what spirit tells me, or source tells me to tell everybody, is you need to ask. When you want help, just ask for help. They can't interfere otherwise, and they will come in and help you. You can have your spirit team, your spirit guides. You can even have ETs come in. You can ask whoever you want to come in. You can have source. You can have your own subconscious or superconscious, but they will come in straight away and they will help you. You just need to ask for help. So we're never alone. But we are also more powerful than we think. And they want me to tell that to people as well. You are so much more powerful than you think. And yes, everybody is psychic. And what I do in my readings, I say to people, you don't need to necessarily come back for another reading if you don't want to. Sit in a chair and listen. Because more often than not, people think they're having a conversation with themselves. But more often than not, they're not having it. They're actually talking to spirit.
Yeah, so I can really see how invaluable that actually can be, because you can save years of your life doing the wrong thing, going down the wrong path, and day by day, going the wrong way if you're not really having the direction, if you're not tuned in. So I can really see how a little reading like that, 1 hour of your life, can actually save years of your life on the other hand.
Yeah.
So you can, for a very short amount of time, save so much. So it's a beautiful value that you're giving to the
and it is humbling to know that there is this intelligence out there and that we're never alone. They're always with us, always. They're always watching. They're always laughing at the little things that we do, the fun things, and they're always saying, tell her this, tell her that, and people always laugh. They always laugh. And also it's very invaluable to say to people, I've been told before, tell her she's eating a lot of saturated fat, for example, and the client will say, what does that mean? And I'll say, butter, milk, cheese, the heavy stuff. And they say, oh, can I have you know, I always just say, I'm just here to give you the message, and you can, you know, do with it as you please. But if I'm being told, apparently you've got sausages in the fridge, you've got a lot of this butter and heavy stuff, and they sort of go, yeah, how do you know that? And one particular lady, she just bought sausages and butter and stuff, put in the fridge. And I knew what she had in the fridge because they told me. And another thing I said was, I keep seeing these sweets, these love heart sweets. And she said, oh, I've just bought, you know, because for nostalgia, out of nostalgia in my childhood, I've just bought a few packets of love heart sweets, and I was planning to share them with my son. And I said, well, apparently I'm being told you've got these little love heart sweets in your cupboard. So she was really, really, really laughing about those. And she said, you can see my cupboard and my fridge. And I said, yeah, apparently, yeah, that this is what I'm being told. So spirit will have a little bit of fun with people as well, but they'll also say, this is not really the best thing for you to eat as well. So they do care about you, and they do care about your health, and they will give you the messages. And after that, people can go away and just, you have free will, and you can do what you like with that information. It's totally up to you, and you will never be judged.
Yeah, excellent, Sarah. Thank you so much for your valuable time. Wish you a lovely day, and yeah, thank you very much for serving us and helping out everybody.
You're so welcome. Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye.